Who here likes movies? Okay, obvious question. Everybody does. Second question. Who likes movies based on video games? No one. Okay then. Who likes movies based on board games? Now I've got you listening. There's been a few over the years which have been tied to board games. Ouija, Zathura, and going cardboard. What? But the most important one that stood out on my hard and long Google search.
I'm getting now.
Released in 1985 to mixed reviews, Clue has since become a cult classic. When you consider the idea that this movie has 3 different endings, and that each theatre showed one of these 3, it's not surprising why it did poorly upon release. This was actually one of the earliest films I remember watching with my family. We would get it out at the sleepover and then spend the next few hours going around quoting it. Even today I still occasionally quote it. Before we go into the plot, we've got to talk about this awesome intro music. Oh yes, the epicness. I am now pumped as hell for what the next hour and a half of my life has to offer. And for your trivia buffs out there, this track is strangely titled Trees to Dogs. Just so we can skip some of the more boring parts. Wadsworth the butler has organised a dinner party for blackmailer Mr. Body and his 6 victims in order to turn the matter over to the police. For a film that was considered rubbish in 1985, it has a few notable stars in its cast. Tim Curry, Christopher Lloyd, Madeline Kahn, this guy.
The kingdom of heaven is at hand.
There are 2 small twists that the writers have done that I really like. And the first is how they explain their unusual last names.
Of course, since you've each been addressed by a pseudonym, you'll have realized that nobody here is being addressed by their real name.
I personally think that's a nice way of upgrading the premise. From a fun board game with 1,000 spin-offs, such as The Case of the Missing Cake, to a serious murder-filled adult-themed film. I mean, seriously, depending on what ending you watch, at least 6 people die. That's a lot more hardcore than figuring out who ate the damn cake. The second thing is if you look closely, some of the characters are wearing their inverted colours. For example, Miss Scarlet is wearing a green dress, Mrs. Peacock is wearing an orange one, and the dinner starts off well at first, with each of the guests taking a snipe at each other and slurping their soup. Mr. Body shows up late, with Wadsworth later announcing that he's the one who's blackmailing the guests. We also learn that Colonel Mustard would make a terrible martial arts master. I mean, all Mr. Body has to do to knock this guy down is stomp on his foot and poke him in the eyes. I was expecting a full-on brawl, but I guess there's only so much violence you can permit in a movie. Mr. Body gives each of the guests a weapon. He gets killed, yada yada yada, and everyone flips the hell out over some supposedly poisoned brandy.
Mrs. Peacock, it's all right. It's all right. You don't know anything. Sit down, Mrs.
Yeah, get used to that. There's an absolute ton of screaming in this.
I had to stop her from screaming.
Naturally, after freaking out, they decide to work out who killed Mr. Body, but being less than half an hour into the movie, another murder has to happen in order to keep the story going. So who goes next? The cook, of course. Spoilers. Whoops. But come on, if you're a secondary character who has one line,
Dinner will be ready at 7:30.
of course you're going to get killed off next. But by far, the absolute best part is Wadsworth's over-the-top explanation of the first hour of this film. Tim Curry must have had so much fun shooting this, seriously. It's great.
And a crash of lightning. And to make a long story short, too late.
It even has a Captain Obvious joke.
I was in the hall. I know because I was there.
And then there's this.
Mrs. Peacock took a drink. You said, maybe it's poisoned. She screams. We took it Mr. Green. Well, I had to stop her screaming.
I should basically just put the entire section here, but then that'd make this video twice as long. On the serious side of things, this film is awesome. The story paces evenly, there's a wide variety of comedic writing, and there are so many good quotes, it is not funny. If you're a fan of physical comedy, you won't be disappointed. There's plenty of it. For a 30-year-old movie, it's definitely worth a watch. It's brilliant, amazing, wonderful. Seriously, I really do like this movie, and I think you will too.
The kingdom of heaven is at hand.